services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Welcome to it on a Monday. Glad you're with us here on the block. I'm Austin Norman, joined as always by the 9-year NBA vet, the Husker Hall of Famer, and a guy I ran into Friday after the show, Eric Strickland. Stricky, how you doing?
I'm doing good today, Austin. It's hopefully this will be a good experience. Just getting on the boat. Got locked in. Internet can be spotty at times out here, so it's just one of those good things. We're going to try to get it done for today and tomorrow. Then I obviously got excursions and stuff like that. But, hey, I'm in the building. What a wonderful freaking weekend for college basketball, man. And Austin, I'll never forget to tell you what I said. This is going to be one of the craziest NCAA tournaments of all time, and I think it's fit the building.
And that's absolutely where we're at. You look at the Final Four we had last year. You have Duke, Carolina on one side. You have Kansas, Villanova on the other side. You have 3 blue bloods and a new blood last year. Then this year, you have 3 schools that have never made a Final Four in their history.
Well, yeah, three of the 4 because UConn's been there. You're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Miami, its first, FAU and SDSU in the Final Four for the first time, and didn't look like an accident in either one of those cases. And UConn has looked probably the best of any of those teams, given the schedule they've played in the tournament to this point. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend of basketball. Had a lot of really good games in the Elite Eight. Before we get into that conversation, do need to let you know that this show is brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Check out Charles and his crew later this week down at 27th and Pine Lake in Lincoln. We'd recommend something, but it's all good. So just make sure you swing by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul at some point this week. All right, Strick, 3 really good games, and UConn putting a beat down on Gonzaga.
Oof.
I can make a case for any of the 4 teams left to be the last one standing.
Man, hey, listen, they beat them by 30. I mean, and listen, it wasn't even like they didn't even look like they belonged on the court. That's how just UConn literally gave it to them. And listen, for the most part, Timmy has been having his way, and that was the difference in that matchup with Sonogo, is that he's not able to do the same type of things that he's normally used to doing when he beats the competition. He had to kind of, take a little bit of that medicine back, right? But they play really good defense, freaking Gonzaga, and they just looked like they were stuck in sand. They couldn't move, and UConn was just having his way. Shout out to UConn. Shout out to UConn because, listen, they had a rough road at it, and they came through looking good and actually looking like probably the best team right now at this point coming into it.
Probably so. The other matchup on Saturday was Florida Atlantic and Kansas State. Ends up a 3-point Owls win. They didn't run out of magic. Kansas State kind of did. Noah looked a little scared to take a shot there at the end, but all in all, that's a successful season for Jerome Tang in his first year down in Manhattan. Blew everyone's expectations out of the water, picked last in the Big 12 in the preseason. but my goodness, Florida Atlantic, they've got the guard play. They have a big guy. The slipper still fits. Strick, I mean, they're the 12th rated team in the net, probably a little underseeded as a 9. What a run for the Owls. And Dusty May, who just today said when he first took the job, he thought he signed his, coaching career away, that was going to be it for him, that he wouldn't be able to move up. But here he has the Owls in a Final Four. What a coaching job. And it's awesome to see the slipper still fit.
Absolutely. And listen, I started thinking about this, and I've been waiting for this time to come. And what I've been thinking about is, if I was coaching in this time frame, with so much parity that we've been seeing as of late, if I'm a coach at like an FAU, did you see the youth on that team? Like, I don't think they have but one senior. Like, they're sophomores and maybe a junior, but most of them are like sophomores and freshmen, right? If I'm him, I'm not, why would I want to move up? I'm looking to move up in pay, take care of me, FAU. Why not create what Mark Few did out there in Gonzaga? You can be there at FAU for the next 20 years if you feel that you've got a nice foundation that you can build it. Now, you got to keep the team together now, because what ends up happening is guys start smelling themselves and they start looking for greener pastures. But I would just really try to keep the unit together. Look, we got something special here. Let's really stay together. Let's build it, and let's take over the world. Come, we're going to make this run now. Maybe we can run it back. I would be selling that to them like a car salesman is trying to sell a new car on the lot. I'm real serious about that, because he can literally make a mainstay on the eastern side of the coast. Remember back in the time when Florida Gulf Coast was making that run that they were making? I would have done the same thing, tried to do there. They got new facilities. They started to kind of upgrade a little bit. Great place to play. But I think I'm thinking about that, man. There's some people that just fit in that mid-major type of flow. And we're starting to see that at Marquette. We're starting to see that that's really who Shaka Smart. That's his zone. That's his window. That's where he fits. Sometimes the big blue bloods and the top tier programs may not be for you. Stay where you at. Like, I couldn't see McDermott. Why would McDermott want to go anywhere?
Fantastic
20
question.
years. He'd be there 30 years if he wants to. You know what I mean? Yeah.
He sure could. We'll talk about the other two games on the other side of our break. Miami and Texas. Really good game. Texas in control. Miami comes storming back. And then the closest game of the weekend in San Diego State and Creighton, how that one was decided. We'll get into all of that and plenty more here on the show. Hour 2, we're going to talk to Brian Munson of Husker Online. Brian covering the big junior day, the huge recruiting weekend for Nebraska football. So we'll talk to Brian about that in about an hour. But when we get back, Miami, Texas, and San Diego State, Creighton. Do we like how those games ended? What did we learn about that side of the bracket? He's Strick. I'm Austin. More on the block after this.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best indoor golf simulators. It's perfect for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery Lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
March is a month of good luck. From epic runs in state basketball to watching Cinderella spring the upset in college basketball. And of course, St. Patrick's Day. Luck is on your side at Mullen Motors, too, because their lot is full of great vehicles to take home. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Your luck starts this month at Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
This is Jay Foreman. When I played football for Nebraska and in the NFL, I wore protective gear to safeguard my health. Today, I'm not only protecting my health, but everyone in our community by staying up to date with the bivalent COVID vaccine. Update your protection with the bivalent COVID vaccine while it's still free. Find out more at healthylincoln.org. That's healthylincoln.org.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in West O and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Mike Shaver here to tell you that Trek CBD has a new name, and it's Hemp Boss. It's the same product you've grown to love, just a new name. Spring sports are on the horizon, and Hemp Boss has a variety of products that help calm me down during games and on the golf course so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options for you to calm you down before, during, and after any event. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Hemp Boss has it all at 84th and Andermatt. Hemp Boss, naturally healthy CBD.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now. And never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
They've got close enough where you could start to envision, Creighton might do this thing. And if they do,
That would have been so cool.
what does that mean for Nebraska? I did find myself rooting for Creighton. I didn't know how it would ever feel if they got this close. And I realized, I think I'm going to cheer for. I would like to have a champion in Nebraska for basketball. That'd be cool.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd go to the parade.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I wouldn't cheer, but I'd be there.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we have to address that last promo. You heard Bach and Rico talking about their feelings for Creighton. Strick, I straight up disagree. I was happy to see Creighton lose. No, they can't win. They cannot. It didn't break my heart that game ended the way it did. It didn't break my heart that they blew a lead. It doesn't break my heart that they were, 1.2 seconds away from a Final Four. It was a foul. You cannot tell me that it was not a foul. Things went the way they were supposed to. I'm happy for Ageka Rope. That was awesome, defending that last play down there. He's the Omaha guy that I'm happy for, but come on. I'm a Husker fan. I'm not going to be happy for Creighton. You can't make me be happy for Creighton.
Being a Husker, I would say I hear you, and some of my sentiments go there. But I would say that I'm a Nebraska dude as a whole. Like if Kearney or even if Omaha, I would probably root for him. Now, I'm a little bit more impartial because being a referee at one point in time in my life, I have to agree with you also on that. That it was a foul. You know, you got your hand on his shoulder. Your interpretation can be not on his shoulder, but on his hip. Your interpretation can be that it's a grab, it's a pull down, it's keeping him, it's a dislodging. There's a lot of different interpretations at that specific point. So your hand being there in that position, and you're not straight vertical, you're going A to B. And he flowed A to B as far as when he took the shot. You know, as a referee, I think that's when you probably got to put a whistle on. You inhibited, you were beat. Now, if you were side by side with them, you might have a little bit different probably context to that call. But the fact that you were trailing, he falls over A to B at the angle that you had. I had no problem with that call. And matter of fact, I think he had Big Sack to call it because there's probably not a lot of them that would put a whistle on that call. They'd probably let it play out.
So Darian Trammell, the one that gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, misses the first one, ends up making the second one, and then Strick, if that non-foul call wasn't enough, we get the out-of-bounds play. First thing first, what I don't think a lot of people mentioned in real time is that Shireman's foot was over the line when he threw that pass. A couple of his toes crossed the out-of-bounds line. So I don't know if that would have been brought into play, but it should have. Either way, the clock starts late. You get the ball off the fingertips for, a good couple tenths of a second before the clock operator was able to start the clock. So it lands harmlessly out of bounds, and we don't even really get a final play. Very, very anticlimactic ending to the game. It ends with free throws and then a pass down the court that really had, number one, no chance, but we didn't even get to see, them try to draw probably a lob for Kalkbrenner at that point with all the time remaining. That would be such a weird feeling to be standing in the huddle waiting for the ref to make the call, and then you don't have to go out there and do anything. Like the game's just over. I get the rule. I think they interpreted it properly. Just a bizarre way for a Final Four game or an Elite Eight game to send someone to the Final Four to end.
Yeah, it is kind of bizarre, but yeah, the ball landed. It probably was like if you would have put time back on the clock, you probably would have been able to put 0.2 seconds, but it was so close that they just basically called it. I mean, the only shot that you've got at that point is a tap, but I think, I think you could have, as a ref, if I would have been the R in that particular game, when I saw it hit the ground, that's just my interpretation from the distance that I saw it. I didn't have all the different camera angles that they had to be able to look at it. But in viewing it, it looked like it hit about 0.1, 0.2, in between 0.1 and 2. I throw 0.2 on there. You don't have a catch and shoot situation. Throw the lob and maybe you get the tip. I mean, that is something they could have done, but they deferred not to, and so they called the game.
The options there for Creighton was either, lob to Kalkbrenner, or Kaluma's athletic enough too. Maybe you try something with him, use Kalkbrenner as a screener or a decoy. But again, because the clock didn't start on time, they literally used a stopwatch, took a stopwatch out and timed it, which is kind of the equivalent of football using the index card as the measurement that one time on the chain measurement. But again, I get why Creighton fans would be upset, but I don't think the refs did anything wrong in the last, 1.2 seconds of that game.
I agree with you. I think it's justified. It was a good back and forth, but to rail on the refs on that foul call, that's not the one I would. That's not the fight that I think you could win. I think that's an absolute foul call. Now you can go back and try to track other fouls throughout the game and say, hey, you should have called that. That should, you should be in a situation where it doesn't have to come down to that situation, hopefully, and ultimately it did, and it cost them.
If Creighton does have a gripe, it's one that I think a lot of teams would have, and that's the basketball that's being used throughout the tournament. We've heard complaints from both the men's side and the women's side about the ball being overinflated, being too bouncy. And, that bore out again. I mean, Creighton only shot 2 of 17 from 3, San Diego State 3 of 13. And Strick, we haven't seen a lot of great shooting performances this tournament. Kansas State and Michigan State put one on in their game. Other than that, there haven't been a lot of teams that have had consistent success shooting the ball. On the one hand, I get it. It's the same for both teams. On the other hand, this is your biggest event if you're at the NCAA. If the ball's overinflated and it's going to make it harder to shoot, that's a problem. Offense is already at a premium in college enough as it is. You should be trying to help these guys out, not making it harder for them.
Yeah, and I think you can look at multiple occasions in game film to where the ball literally was halfway down. But when you have an inflated ball, that rattle to the side usually has an upward and out type of momentum, whereas that same movement with a little softer ball can kind of settle in there and drop. You know what I mean? So I mean, I noticed a few shots and I was like, wait a minute, that was dang near like at the bottom of the net. How did that come back out? But that could be attributed to that situation. And can you address that now, or are we going to start doing a deflate gate in the NCAA tournament, or inflate gate?
That's what we have to call it at this point. Tom Brady is either livid because the NCAA doesn't understand that you're supposed to deflate it, or he's rubbing his hands together. Okay, it's Tom Brady's time to go deflate some basketballs. People are going to love me for it. I don't know. Either way, I could see Tom Brady taking some time out of retirement to do us a service and kind of deflate those basketballs a little bit. The other game we have to get to, though, in the Elite Eight, Strick, is Miami and Texas. What a job by Jim Larrañaga and the Canes, led by guards. That's what it comes down to. Wong has been good all year. Pack has been solid. Jordan Miller has the first perfect shooting game in an NCAA tournament since Christian Laettner did it back for Duke. Miami was on the ropes a couple times, and that's why I'm so surprised to see an older, experienced Texas team not finish them. But again, Miami's guards were better down the stretch, and that was the difference.
Listen, I was actually really surprised because you're absolutely right. It was one of those things where they literally looked like they were going to run away with it in that game. I mean, Texas had it in its hand, and you know what was the problem? It was turnovers. I mean, they were like, it was like they were throwing the ball into Miami's hands, and they were giving them just, opportunities to score on the other side. 14 turnovers ultimately, but it's not even just the amount of the turnovers. It was the timing of the turnovers.
Yes,
and it was because they actually had the lead. And not getting a shot in those those situations is a huge difference. And you had already the shot lead on them. I mean, you got 60 field goals, 2-point field goals up, and another 25 to their 49 total. You know what I mean? And 25 threes. But I mean, my gosh, bro, it was just the timing of them. And what ended up happening on the other end, they turned into opportunities, getting Wong in the open court, getting Miller and Pack. Those guys are efficient, man. So you let them do that. And then, Miller was phenomenal at the free throw line, only one turnover. His efficiency was tremendous as well.
You look at Miami, you mentioned they only take 49 shots as a team. And for a team that's, as good at spreading teams out as anyone in the country, playing a lot of 5-out like Miami does, to only take 8 threes in a game, I mean, that's some early 1980s stuff, regardless of who you are. I mean, teams are taking 15, 20 threes a game on average now. Miami only gets 8 of them, but they counteract that with a fantastic night from the free throw line, 28 of 32 as a team. One guy missed 3 of the 4 free throws, and that's, again, where when you think of guards, a lot of times you think of that shooting. Miami's shot it at a high clip all year, but the other thing Miami did and never stopped doing was trying to get downhill. You shoot 32 free throws, that's going to make up for not shooting some threes because you get points with the clock stopped, and that helped Miami crawl back in the game.
Absolutely. That got them back into the game, and it allowed them to finish off the game as well. Because then and again, we go back to the turnovers. What cost them at the end of the game? Lack of getting shots. They were still in it. And I think they turned the ball over twice in the last 2-something minutes that didn't get an opportunity where you go on the other side and they make big buckets or big free throws, and that pushes the lead. Got a great shot coming down on the other end. I can't remember who took it. I want to say it might have been Bishop. I can't remember who took it. Maybe one of the guys, but he had a great floater look. And then that's that heavy inflated ball again. It looked like it was going in, and it just did not find the bottom of the rim. I was just like, wow. I was surprised because it was nice soft touch, went in, and then it kind of came out, and then you had to foul in that situation. But yeah, when a team's shooting that good from the free throw line, and you're late and you're not up on them, that's a tough one. You're going to your death basically in the game because of the fact that these guys are knocking free throws down.
How much, if any, of the loss do you put on Rodney Terry? Because Texas committed to him officially. Rodney Terry is going to be the next head coach at Texas. Was there anything to do with how Rodney Terry approached that game, especially as he saw that lead start to dwindle, that worries you about Texas's future, or is this just a big credit to Larrañaga and the Canes?
Listen, the Canes just got it done. And you look at it, this has been the successful run of great guard play. Even when the centers were needed, when you're looking at UConn, when you're looking at San Diego State, it really was still the guard play that we're setting it up. Then you look at freaking Kansas State, where Noel had a 63% usage rate to where he was either assisting or scoring for Kansas State. And they were all effective in that area. I want to say that, Terry did a good job. He did a good job of keeping that team together when it easily could have fell apart. It's tough when it comes down to that because, there's really nothing he can call when the ball is in guys' hands, it's out of his, right? Sure. There's really not much he can do at that point. You got to slow down. You got to take care. You got to be sure. But Miami was very active. They were very active with their hands. They were very active in passing lanes. They weren't letting them just kind of dribble and be comfortable. And it ultimately paid the price for them in a loss. But I don't think that was his fault.
So you have the 9 seed Florida Atlantic, the 5 seed San Diego State, and then the 5 seed Miami and 4 seed UConn. The matchups in the Final Four. That'll tip off.
Love FAU.
They're fun.
I just love. And it's so much disservice to them. I don't care what conference you play on. You win 33, you win 30, you go 30-3 in your games. You're doing something. You're knocking teams off. You're beating people. You're not because guess what? They have to play a big an ACC school. They play at least 2 or 3 big schools minimum in their non-con because that's their money. That's their money games, right? When you're a small college, you play those big money games. Really stack your chips for your program. So you had to knock some teams off. You maybe took some losses too, to a couple, and that's okay because that makes you better. When you get into the conference play now that's when you start taking control. You start running things because it seasoned you and it got you ready for what you're about to face in your conference. And then there's probably not going to be too many conference teams. If you play a pretty staunch non-conference game, it's not going to be too many teams that can beat you.
To your point, those two games that FAU played early in the season. Second game of the year, they go to Oxford to play Ole Miss, lose by 13. And then their third game of the year, they're on the road in Gainesville. They take down Florida 76-74. Not a vintage Florida team, but still a solid team and was definitely a sign of things to come. So the Owls went from Friday, November 11th to Thursday, February 2nd between losses. Regardless of who you're playing, like you said, that's a run. That's a stretch. That's impressive. Their only other loss so far this season was on the road at Middle Tennessee State. They lost that one by 4 points. If I made you pick now, who's your champion?
You hear that? You hear that? I was trying to keep.
Okay, we'll get your champion on the other side. We'll step aside. We'll play the shootout. Hopefully, the captain's done with this.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
We're done. Hey, your champion.
Yeah,
yes,
he
right
dipped
now.
Off. Right now, UConn.
UConn. Okay. Okay. Popular pick. They're favored by 5.5 over Miami. Tough to bet against them the way they're playing right now. Again, those games will take place on Saturday. All right, now it's time to step aside. The shootout with Strick from the sea. That's right. We'll see how this one goes for Strick. We're playing how well do you know your final four teams? So call now for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. We'll play the shootout on the other side.
If your home isn't delivering the year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Warm and cool, comfort and confidence. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Call 467-1111.
March is a month of good luck. From epic runs in state basketball to watching Cinderella spring the upset in college basketball. And of course, St. Patrick's Day. Luck is on your side at Mullen Motors too, because their lot is full of great vehicles to take home. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Your luck starts this month at Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in West O and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States. A regular screening can reduce colon cancer deaths by 50%. At-home screening tests, such as the fecal immunochemical test, FIT, can help identify precancerous polyps and prevent colon cancer. FIT is easy to use with no prep needed, completed in the privacy of your own home, and are often free to order from your local county health department. Take a health quiz to know if you are at risk of developing colon cancer. Doing so will help you to protect your family and yourself.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
They got close enough where you could start to envision, Creighton might do this thing. And if they do,
that would have been so cool.
What does that mean for Nebraska? I did find myself rooting for Creighton. I didn't know how it would ever feel if they got this close. And I realized, I think I'm going to cheer for. I would like to have a champion in Nebraska for basketball. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd go to the parade.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I wouldn't cheer, but I'd be there. Constructors is now hiring for all positions, with laborers starting at $20 and up based on experience. Constructors has immediate job openings for laborers, mechanics, bridge builders, operators, and drivers. Start your new career today. Constructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the names. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realtor Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now. And never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone again, and with me on the line, Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I know how proud you and everyone at the dealership are to earn the prestigious Honda President's Award year after year, 17 times. Tell our listeners what it means to you and your customers.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, all of us are extremely proud to have earned this award, and I want all of our customers to know it's not just earned by one person's effort. It's the entire dealership, sales, parts, and our amazing service department.
17 times. Wow. How does that compare to other Honda dealers?
This award is only given to the most elite dealerships that demonstrate excellence. We really do strive to go above and beyond for the ultimate customer experience before and after the sale, Charlie.
That's why for 2022, Honda of Lincoln is once again Nebraska's #1 volume Honda dealer. Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685. to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
Tap in now, 402-464-5685 to play the Shootout with Strick. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some numbers put up today. If you've been paying any attention at all to the Final Four, you should have a pretty decent shot at answering these questions correctly. Again, 402-464-5685. We will play the shootout. Hey, we got a caller. Looks like Bofus. All right, we got Bofus on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Are you with us, Bofus?
Hello?
Hello, Bofus, you got us.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. Are you here to play the Shootout with Strick?
Yeah, I am. My phone's got the Google open on his phone, so let's go.
All right, hold on the line here, and we'll give Strick his questions first. Stricky, your round of the Shootout. You ready for it? All right, here we go in 3, 2, and 1. He led Florida Atlantic in scoring this season. Janelle Davis or Elijah Martin?
Martin.
It was Davis. He led San Diego State in scoring this season. Matt Bradley or Darian Trammell?
Trammell.
It was Bradley. Bofus, hold on. He led his second different university to a Final Four. Brian Dutcher or Jim Larinaga?
Larinaga.
Yep, they won their Elite Eight game by the fewest points this season. FAU or San Diego State?
San Diego State.
Yep, and this Final Four school has the smallest enrollment.
FAU.
Ooh, it is not FAU. The answer is Miami. The plucky underdogs from Coral Gables have the smallest enrollment. All right, Strick, you get 2. You get 2, not bad. Bofus, you need 2 to tie. You need 3 to win. Are you ready for your round of the Shootout?
Let's go.
All right, your round begins in 3, 2, and 1. He led Miami in scoring this season. Jordan Miller or Isaiah Wong?
Wong.
Yep, he led UConn in scoring this season. Jordan Hawkins or Adama Sanogo?
Right. Hawkins.
Nope, it was Sanogo. His brother won 2 college basketball national championships as a player. Dan Hurley or Dusty May?
Dan Hurley.
Yep, they won their Elite Eight game by the most points this season. UConn or Miami?
UConn.
And this Final Four school has the largest enrollment.
Miami.
All right, time's up. Time is up. Time is up. You get the win. Congratulations on it. Hold on the line. We'll get you your $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Close, Strick. Close. 3-2 game. One a pitcher's duel, unfortunately. That'll happen sometimes. Here's the tiebreaker for you. How many combined points were the 4 Elite Eight games decided by? How many combined points were the 4 Elite Eight games decided by?
12.
39. 39 points. Most of that from the
that's
Utah
right, because the
game.
blowout.
Yep. 7 points in one game, 3 points in one game, a single point in one game adds up to 11. So if you take UConn Gonzaga out of the question, you're good. But no, that 28-point win did happen. So over would have been the answer. That'll put a bow on hour 1 of the show. Busy hour 2 to get to. Maybe talk a little more basketball. But what should Big Ten athletic directors in schools spend their money on? They've got $50 million in cash right now. Do they need to spend more to have more postseason success, whether that's in the college football playoff, in basketball, in the College World Series, any sport? Do they need to spend more to have more success? Do there need to be rules on how much schools need to be spending on their student athletes, on their facilities and programs a year? Strick and I will get into that. Lamar Jackson requested a trade. And then at the bottom of the hour, Brian Munson of Husker Online will break down a busy Husker football recruiting weekend for us. Don't go anywhere. I got more hour 2 on the block after this.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
If your home isn't delivering the year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Warm and cool, comfort and confidence. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Call 467-1111.
For individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Tailored Landscapes is actively preparing for spring. Things like getting new tree orders, getting equipment ready, and training staff to serve you the best we can. If you haven't already planned, now is the perfect time to figure out a maintenance plan for your yard. We're on the brink of spring cleanups for all of our existing customers and have limited spots left. We trim trees and shrubs when needed and only mulch proper amounts. Give us a call today at 402-432-2572 to set up a meeting with one of our designers and get ready for Tailored Life's grand opening in Bennett.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone again, and with me on the line, Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I know how proud you and everyone at the dealership are to earn the prestigious Honda President's Award year after year, 17 times. Tell our listeners what it means to you and your customers.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, all of us are extremely proud to have earned this award, and I want all of our customers to know it's not just earned by one person's efforts. It's the entire dealership. Sales, parts, and our amazing service department.
17 times. Wow. How does that compare to other Honda dealers?
This award is only given to the most elite dealerships that demonstrate excellence. We really do strive to go above and beyond for the ultimate customer experience before and after the sale, Charlie.
That's why for 2022, Honda of Lincoln is once again Nebraska's #1 volume Honda dealer. Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
We'll see increasing cloud cover by later this afternoon. Should top out with a high near 45. Winds out of the north-northeast at around 10. Partly cloudy tonight with a low down to around 24. Mostly sunny tomorrow and warmer. We'll see a southwest wind at 15 with a high of around 52. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
That's right. Hour 2 of the show comes your way here from 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com, and the Sartor Heyman Jewelers live video streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Make sure you drop a like, drop a follow, subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff. It's all free to you. You don't have to pay. But what do you get? It's a big benefit. You get to know when every one of our shows goes live. You get all the content you need from your favorite 93.7 The Ticket hosts and personalities. Husker related, national sports related, doesn't matter. We've got you covered. And hey, we're all local right here in Lincoln, except for Strick, who's sailing the high seas right now. But he's here in studio most of the time. Also local, always for you, Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Big shout out to Charles and his gang down there at 27th and Pine Lake here in Lincoln. Make sure you stop by. He'll fix you a plate and tell him the block sent you, Austin and Strick. 402-464-5685. Plenty to get to here this hour. Big Ten athletic directors and schools have a lot of money. They do. How do they need to spend that money? Should they be spending that money? Do they need to compete at the highest level? We'll dive into that. Lamar Jackson says he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens. This was a few weeks ago, but just really became public today. Who's at fault? Is there anyone at fault for the way this situation has played out? Is it on Lamar? Is it on the Ravens? Is it on the coaching staff? Or is it just the price of doing business with a quarterback of Lamar Jackson's capabilities and his stature? And we'll also talk to Brian Munson of Husker Online at the bottom of the hour. Fantastic recruiting weekend here in Lincoln. a large number of 4- and 5-star prospects in town. We'll get the lowdown from Brian, who are some of the big names on offense, who are some of the big names on defense. Was Nebraska able to make any headway at all with any of these guys? We know the headliner, of course, Dylan Raiola, plenty of guys in town to see him, to be around him, to pick his brain really about what he's thinking, where he's going to go, what it would be like to play with him. Again, a huge number of big-time prospects on both sides of the ball descended on Lincoln. Some of them were even at the baseball game on Friday. A big thanks to, again, Darren Erstad for joining us on the show on Friday. Darren Erstad, one of the 3 Huskers who had his jersey number retired, alongside Shane Comine and Lincoln's own Alex Gordon. So, again, a big congrats to those guys. If you missed that conversation with Darren Erstad, that is up on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you like to listen to that, Spotify, Apple, all sorts of podcast platforms. Again, you get podcasts there. You can find that conversation with Darren Erstad there. Pretty timeless. We did ask him a little bit about the ceremony and what it means, but also his journey to Nebraska. How did he get there? Did he consider going pro when he was drafted out of high school? What was it like, being a pro? What was it like being the head coach at Nebraska? When did he know it was time to step away? And again, going into the Hall of Fame, or I guess getting his jersey retired at Nebraska, alongside 2 other legends in Comine and Gordon. Very successful weekend for Husker baseball. They take 2 out of 3, win the first 2 in pretty secure fashion, drop the third one. Illinois gets out to a pretty big lead. Nebraska does cut into it. Max Anderson, Gabe Swanson, both homer a couple times for the Huskers. They do not get the series sweep, a 10-7 loss yesterday, but they do win the first 2 games of the series. Good open to Big Ten play. Again, an 8-4 win on Friday with the jersey retirement and the numbers going up on the wall. An 8-3 win on Saturday for the Huskers over the Illini, and then a 10-7 loss. Nebraska still looking for a third starter, really. Any consistency, any dependability they can get out of that pitching staff come Sundays. They've been pretty good on Friday and Saturday. Sunday's been an issue, and midweek has been an issue. So we'll have to see if Nebraska can find a third starter for the weekend, find some bullpen help as well. But a good weekend for Husker softball. I think Rico's in there. Rico, can you hear me? Rico, pull the mic around. I'm going to ask you about Husker softball. Okay, Rico's going to close the door. A good weekend for softball. Rico was out there live tweeting some softball. Successful weekend against Purdue.
Yeah, I was learning how to live tweet bat and ball sports, so that was fun. A nice little sweep against Purdue. First game, Courtney Wallace started, kind of got roughed up a bit. They allowed a bunch of runs, still came away with the victory via I believe that was the game. They had 3 pretty close games. I believe the first game was the one where Brooke Andrews kind of recreated her magic and hit a 3-run bomb in the 6th inning down by 1 to give Nebraska the win. Pretty light work on Saturday. Courtney Wallace back in the circle, took care of business. And then this last one, they started Sarah Harness. She went about 3 2/3 innings. She only gave up 2 runs. I thought she was doing pretty well. Rhonda Revelle decided to pull her. Courtney Wallace goes back into the circle, finishes it out, gets the win, and Nebraska wins 4-2. Maya Felder, though, they scored 3 runs in the first 3 innings. They scored 1 run in each inning in the first 3 innings. Maya Felder hits a solo shot. I believe hers was in the 3rd inning that cleared both left field fences.
Oh, flex on him.
And landed in the parking lot outside of Bolin. Just put all kinds of muscle into it. Beautiful catch out in center field by Brooke Andrews. Saved a run more than likely. Nice snow cone catch in right field. Allowed a run in the 2nd from Purdue, but for the most part kept the base runners to a minimum. And when they did get them on, Nebraska did a really good job of not only they didn't get a lot of strikeouts, but they did a really good job of just limiting them, not allowing them to advance all that much. The 6th inning, they had 2 runners on. No, they had 1 runner on, and each time they got the out at second base. Each time. 3 ground outs, the runner out at second base each time. No double plays, just the out at second base. Great outing for Nebraska softball. They have a doubleheader coming against Iowa middle of the week.
Tomorrow.
And then back home So that one's away. That one's going to be in Iowa City. And then back home for a 3-game set against Michigan, who is a fantastic softball team in their own right.
Team and program. Michigan's always been around there. Stay tuned. Follow Rico on Twitter for more softball updates.
I'll do my best. Again, I'm learning on the job.
That's what we're here for. Appreciate you, Rico, for that. All right, Strick, we're talking about Big Ten teams. And this can be for really any sport. The Big Ten teams are getting paid an average of $49 million per year. It's a lot of money going off, for these Big Ten schools because of the media rights, because of their participation in, postseason tournaments and whatnot. And you say $50 million, that's a lot. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know if we always see all the fruits of that and where that goes. I know they have operating budgets. They have plenty of people they have to pay. But Strick, I'd like to see more of a breakdown of how much of that money per year gets put back into these programs in terms of upping their budget on a year-to-year basis, in terms of adding help in recruiting, in terms of making just even little upgrades to facilities if you don't have the ability or the space or the time to build a whole new building. But can you modernize, the facilities that you do have? Can you, within the scope of the rules, make travel easier or more consistent for your coaches in recruiting? Basically, what does it take for the Big Ten to succeed in the postseason? We know the Big Ten's reputation in football. It's a tough league, beat everyone up. It's up there with the SEC. We know the Big Ten's reputation in basketball. Great regular season league, had competition basically down to the wire. I know Purdue finished, a couple games clear of Northwestern in second, but you didn't have the second place finisher in the basketball conference on the men's side decided until the final night. You have a lot of teams up there in that, 9 to 13 win range, making every night meaningful. But again, Strick, what we see time and time again with the Big Ten is these teams ultimately falling short in the postseason. Ohio State has Georgia on the ropes, but the Dogs make a comeback. You get one team out of the opening weekend in the men's basketball tournament, and that's Michigan State. Indiana, Maryland, Penn State win games, but it's just one. That's really all that you have going for you in the men's tournament. Begrudging shout out to Iowa on the women's side. Caitlin Clark went off making a Final Four. But Strick, this is something that I think Big Ten schools, the Big Ten Conference needs to take a look at is what's the point of making all that money if you're not going to spend it and improve your product, if you're not going to use that money to compete for championships? Because yes, it's good to have money, in the bank, stockpiled, ready to go in case you have something like the COVID pandemic where you lose a lot of money. But I think most schools are past that in a good enough position. And especially when you add USC and UCLA, and that $50 million goes up to 60, 75, we've heard rumor $100 million per year per school. You've got to see some investment of that money into facilities, into student athletes in some way, at least to prove to me that you're willing to put in the funds, the resources it takes to compete on a national level in the postseason.
Well, that's what you have. I mean, you think about what Notre Dame is doing right now, right? Notre Dame is kind of trying to get ahead of this, these adjustments, some of these changes that are going to be made, right? We have to, in the Big Ten, look at whether or not USC and UCLA, they had a great run, obviously representing the Pac-12 right now, but they're gonna enter themselves in and become part of the Big Ten family soon. So you have to kind of weigh out where that money and those expenditures are going to go to, and for what you're going to be able to get out of it. Let's be real about it. Miami's got great NIL money out of the Life Wallet's billionaire, and he's getting a return on his investment. So you obviously know that if there's some of your financial fiduciary duties go to certain areas to really help to make and put out a better product, that there's a possibility of getting a great return on it. Miami is definitely seeing the fruits of that return. So I think it's a necessity. Whether or not the Big Ten can weigh in on where and how people go about doing that. You obviously see that Nebraska football is trying to put some new pieces in on the football side of things. They still don't kind of have a feeling for basketball, but they're doing a great job in volleyball. I think they still need to raise their level in basketball a little bit to get in the mix. But yes, the Big Ten, I saw it, man. I didn't have any of them. I'm very, I said the two teams that I kind of liked in it, I just like the toughness of Indiana. Kind of showed, but didn't really come through because guard play outplayed them in the tournament. Then, Michigan State, great guard play, Hogarth and Walker. Those guys are beasts. And they were there. They were right there in the mix. Just kind of ran up against the, Kansas State juggernaut at that point that was playing absolutely well. And when you have guys like Newell throwing in, coming off screens, twisting ankles in the midst of doing that, and just tosses one and it goes in and he banks another one in, it's just that guy's night. It's just there's nothing you can do about that. That's just their night. And that's what's unfortunate. And I just don't know where the Big Ten goes from here. I really don't.
That's why I wanted to have the money conversation here. Does more money solve the issue? Does getting more help in terms of recruiting staffers for basketball solve the issue? Do Big Ten teams across the board need better facilities to attract better results? Does the Big Ten need to, pay? Schools need to pay to send their coaches to symposiums to get, better ideas from other coaches to try to steal some stuff, maybe modernize the style of play? I don't know. But with as much money as all of these schools have, there's no reason it should continue to fall flat on its face in the postseason, regardless of the sport. I mean, volleyball has done pretty well. Invest more in that. Keep going as the volleyball league. You've had Ohio State and Michigan in the playoff. Ohio State before, now the last couple of years, it's been Michigan. What can you invest as those schools to get over the hump? What does it take? Again, more recruiting, better facilities. Can you invest in better nutrition? Does that go a long way? I don't know. But if the Big Ten wants to keep its reputation and really earn the paycheck that it's getting from these media deals, and even again increase that revenue, because the more games you play in the tournaments, the bigger payout you get. You want to keep that going. You have to find a way to get out of the first weekend, out of the first round of the playoff, especially once it expands to 12 teams. Again, the more you play, the more money. It just strikes me as something that if you spend a little bit more money, you could get a lot more return on investment and really, honestly, truly keep pace with the SEC in the postseason conversation, not just the regular season.
I have a question. What right now in your just as you're thinking about this or have thought about this, what are the top conferences right now that you would consider in basketball? Because when you just look at what's going on right now, the ones that you would have considered to be top conferences that got probably the most people in, which is the Big 12 and Big 10. They got both, I think, got 8, if I'm correct. Right?
Think so.
They don't have any representation. And, Big 12 kind of came through. They kind of came through. They had Texas on the verge. Kansas tried to make a little run. K-State was right there about breaking. So they for the most part, they kind of took advantage of it. Big Ten didn't. So who would you consider? It hasn't for a long time. Been very mediocre when it comes tournament time. So obviously the ACC kind of came through with Miami. That's not your usuals. Your Dukes, your North Carolinas, so forth. Maybe even your Virginias and stuff like that. Yeah, that'll pop their head out there every now and then. So where who would you consider it to be? And Sutter Heyman text line, I want to know, as you've watched this basketball season, to you, who do you feel 402-464-5685 is actually the team or the conferences? Give me your top 3. Your top 3 conferences outside of even if you think the Big Ten is still that. I want to know. I want to know what your top 3 conferences in watching right now, because it's not playing out the way that most people would have thought.
Yeah, it's the Big 12 and the Big East in my head for sure as the top 2 right now. And then it's probably between the SEC and the Big Ten. The bottom of the SEC is pretty bad. I don't think Minnesota or Ohio State will be as bad as they were this year. Next year, I don't think Northwestern will be as good next year as they were this year. Nebraska, you're still wait and see. Penn State, still wait and see. I guess right now, though, Strick, I'd have to give the nod to the SEC as that third conference because they've gotten teams in the postseason. They've gone further. The regular season is just as much of a grind. And here's the other thing. SEC dudes are going to the league at a higher rate than Big Ten guys are and having more success more consistently. I'd probably give the nod to the SEC. And here's the thing. The Big East is a basketball-focused league. That's why it's there. It's exceeding at its thing. Good job. Congratulations. The Big 12, I think, is about to be a basketball league, especially when Oklahoma and Texas head to the SEC. They'll have solid football teams, but I still think that's going to be a basketball-focused conference with a few strong teams in football. The Big Ten's, tough regular season excuse doesn't hold really any water at all to me because you're seeing the same thing in the SEC. You're seeing the same thing in the Big 12, the Big East. Even the ACC, I mean, you get down to teams 11 and below, it's pretty bad, but the top 10 in the ACC can run with anyone in the top 10 in any of those leagues, I would say, if you break them up by tiers. So at some point, the Big Ten has to get over the regular season conference kind of stigma that's attached to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Big East, Big East is well represented. And so what are they doing? Like, what is the blueprint? What is the Big East doing? Because there's top tier talent there, but at the same time, there's a lot of kind of undercover type of surprise stories that come out of there. Guys transferring in, so forth and so on, that were unsung wherever they were, and they come out and then they just start to make it, and they're just hardened. It just seems to me that the Big East is hardened. Like they're rock solid. I think when I look at Big East basketball, they're very fundamental. It's like they play a great style of basketball that when it comes time to win games, secure games, get into games, fight through hardships, the fundamentalness of that of most of the teams that I've seen play in that conference is what kind of seems to get them through. And just kind of the lackluster, the free will. I mean, I think we saw that in UCLA. I mean, UCLA probably should have won that game. The way that they were playing, they had it. I think they just wore out. They got a little tired, didn't have the depth, and they were trying to play a style of basketball that just wasn't conducive for them to be able to, throughout the whole 40 minutes of that game to be able to sustain it, playing high level defense, rebounding, running, and then trying to finish on the other end and then having to work. Yeah. They just got tired. They got wore out and they just ended up getting beat. So yeah, I think the Pac-10 is probably one of the weakest power teams conferences for me, especially with the departure of USC and UCLA. That's going to even make it worse. I still think Arizona's fraudulent. Oregon hasn't really stepped up and been anything significant in some time. Can they get back to their glory days? I don't know, but San Diego State, man, that's an interesting team. They're solid. I was impressed. I just really was impressed just by all these teams. FAU, just impressed. These guys don't give a dang about who you are, how many stars you had, where you played, and what high school you went. They don't give a gosh darn about that. They're like trying to beat the brakes off of you, and I love it, man. I've been enjoying this tournament.
Absolutely. He's Eric Strickland. I'm Austin Norman. We're going to talk Husker football next. Brian Munson of Husker Online breaks down a huge recruiting weekend. What he see, what he hear, who was here. What are the takeaways for Nebraska football after that? We'll talk to Brian after this.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com. Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $10 off any athletic shoes $105 and under, and get $15 off any shoe over $105. Choose from respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, On, and 361 Running. And don't forget the trendy Hey Dudes. A new shipment just arrived for the season. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66 and Q in Lincoln.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Guys, when I first started with Barrel's Extreme Body Shaping, I weighed in at over 300 pounds. Now, less than a year later, I'm under 200 pounds for the first time since high school. I'm stronger, I'm healthier, and it all began with the Barrel's 10-week challenge. 10 weeks of kickboxing, strength training, and guided nutrition coaching to help you reach your fitness goals. Their next 10-week challenge begins on April 8th. If you're wanting to change your life like I have, head to theticketfm.com and click on Enroll Now on the homepage. Plus, get a promo code for a discount just for ticket listeners. Barrel's Extreme Body Shaping.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior. Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
Everybody is jockeying for position. If I was the head coach, everybody's position would be up for grabs because I want competition across the board. Earn it on the football field. That's the feel that I got from Coach Rule, is that he's an earn it guy. He ain't going to give you anything.
To snatch that position, you got to go out there and solidify that first week, and then you got to keep coming. You got to keep getting better every day. You got to make your teammates better. You just got to understand your role.
Tailored Landscapes is actively preparing for spring. Things like getting new tree orders, getting equipment ready, and training staff to serve you the best we can. If you haven't already planned, now is the perfect time to figure out a maintenance plan for your yard. We're on the brink of spring cleanups for all of our existing customers and have limited spots left. We trim trees and shrubs when needed and only mulch proper amounts. Give us a call today at 402-432-2572 to set up a meeting with one of our designers and get ready for Tailored Life's grand opening in Bennett.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Bottom of hour number 2 here on the block. Austin Norman back with you. Strick had to dip. Well, that's okay. We replaced the Husker Hall of Famer with the Husker Recruiting Hall of Famer. Brian Munson of Husker Online joins us here after a busy junior day. Brian, we called down, and there should have been a nurse swinging by with a coffee IV. Has that happened yet?
Oh, well, she stopped by, and then I also complained of carpal tunnel syndrome. So she was coming back with some wrist braces and some anti-inflammatories for my wrist too, because I think that was 14 or 15 stories over 2.5 days, and I've got like 4 or 5 left to go up tonight, man. So it was a weekend.
Make sure you expense that PT.
That's true. That is very true. It's a write-off now too. I'm into the work time, so I got to remember that for next year's tax returns.
There you go. Write it off, type it off, whatever it takes. But yeah, like you said, 1450 stories, 4 or 5 more in the cooker for Husker Online for On 3. Let's just start with this, Brian, with the big junior day. Everything I've seen, everything I've read, very positive for Nebraska. It seems like if you had to grade the weekend, you would give it an A. Just how well did this weekend go for Nebraska?
It went phenomenally well. I mean, you had guys like Brandon Baker and Nathaniel Frazier, who we spoke with on Friday night. And while I didn't directly interview, I was behind stage, watching the interview with Sean and Sip, and they're going through talking to those guys. And these are, 2 of the most highly recruited players in the nation. Number 1 offensive tackle, and Frazier, not the number 1 running back in California, but darn close. I mean, same schools are in pursuit of him, and these guys came to Nebraska on a bit of a leap of faith. I mean, they had some connections with Raiola. They've obviously been getting recruited very hard by Matt Rule and his staff, and they come to Nebraska, which is a very different place than what they had really been visiting and considering up to that point. And they loved it. I mean, these guys are talking about making return visits, and you had Jacob and Gerard Smith from Connecticut, same way. You had so many guys basically from the top of that group. Gatlin Bair, that the wide receiver from Idaho. I think Nebraska did a great job, because I know there's no commitments, and people will say quantify that. There's nothing new on the board in terms of commitments, but the idea is that Nebraska needs to get this group to keep coming back to Lincoln, and they have done that. They are securing additional unofficial and will be soon official visitors as they get into June from this group this weekend. It's a very interesting new process to where it seems like these schools now are having these larger junior days to kind of then build this chemistry among the group that's kind of there to then get them to start coming in together for official visits to kind of see the picture together.
You mentioned see the picture together and talk to one another. The keystone of that, Dylan Raiola. Just how big a part of this weekend was he, not just in terms of Nebraska's pursuit of him, but Dylan Raiola's role in bringing however many of these guys with him wherever he goes?
Well, I mean, he generates a buzz, number 1. I mean, there's an interest there because, I talked to Ryan Wingo last night, and Wingo's like, yeah, we've been to our last 2 trips, been our last 2 trips together. We went to Georgia together. Now we've been to Nebraska together. They're trying to kind of, get that kind of group within a group thing built before they even commit and do anything. Because they see each other as what they need to be successful. That's that peer. Wingo's looking for the quarterback, and Raiola's looking for the stud wide receiver. So that's what you're trying to kind of build right there. But Raiola, so many stories from the weekend about how involved he is, how basically he was folded into practice, listening in the huddle, checking things out, and just how it doesn't act like or seem like an uncommitted guy. And look, I think that's the difference now. I think the difference is that you have to fold these kids in, and you have to give them basically what it's like, give them the experience essentially of being a player, on that team, in that program, playing for that coach in that 24, 48 hours that they're in town. There's such a limited snapshot, but you have to you have to generate so much benefit and so much value to get those guys to come back. And I think things have really, really, really changed in that regard. But Matt Rule and his staff did a fantastic job of managing the entire weekend.
We'll talk about some of the big names nationally in just a minute, but how did Nebraska do with some of the bigger name in-state prospects that were there this weekend?
Carter Nelson, he's always been a guy that's been very slippery to kind of get a hold of. I did get a quick remark that he really loved it, and we were supposed to catch up yesterday. He hasn't gotten back to me. And then, of course, McMorris and Davon Hall removed themselves because they both went on to go to Chicago to play 7-on-7s. And you basically come down to Caleb Benning, and I make it sound like you slide all the way down the list, and that's really not the case. Caleb is a fantastic athlete, and it's going to get looked on both sides of the football. And when I touch base with him, I think that there was, there's this, the last time he was there was that first weekend in December, which was that junior day for the in-state guys. And this is the first time he's returned to Lincoln, and a lot is happening. A lot of things, like basically with spring practices and facilities and this continued, growth of the relationship with between him and the coaching staff. I really feel like Caleb's a guy that can lead the state. He can go national. He can stay regional. He's got some teams that are really pushing for him, in the area, but he's feeling the love from Nebraska. I think that he's seeing the bigger picture there too, which I think is incredibly important, because it's you can have those schools that it just turns out sometimes to be lip service to kind of keep an in-state kid there, but in reality, I think with Caleb, it's genuine desire to keep Caleb home because you see the value and see the role for him on your team in the 2024 class.
Talking with Brian Munson of Husker Online here. Brian, Willis McGahee IV saw a spring practice. Remind me, did any of the other guys in town get to watch any practice?
So Willis McGahee was there on Monday along with Caden Massey, and then you got a couple guys came through on Friday, and they really didn't do any practices on Friday. They did a workout in the morning. And I don't think that, everybody was there. I think Jaden Riddell was there. Jacob Arop was there earlier in the week too from Bellevue West. And then mainly all the guys that were there on Saturday got to see that 9 to noon practice. But otherwise there was a workout Friday and then another practice on Thursday.
Did you hear anything from any of those guys about what they saw in that time? Did they like it? Were they impressed? Because we know Matt Rule says he doesn't want anyone to commit to Nebraska without having seen, a practice, a workout. Any inclination what these guys thought about what they saw?
Every single one of these guys, there were a couple guys that noted that Nebraska is only 4 practices in, on Saturday it was their 4th practice. So was there a couple of hiccups? Yeah. There were, but in reality, everybody else came back and said, man, Matt Rule is everywhere. He is sticking his nose into all of the position breakouts. He is correcting people. He's correcting his staff. He called a timeout. The staff met together. He met with all of them. They broke out and they finished practice. There was a lot of things about how aggressive essentially that the practice was. There was pads popping very early on Saturday morning. There was a lot of great feedback, honestly, about the practice on Saturday. There were just a couple that noted a couple of the hiccups, but ultimately that was one of the big stronger points of the weekend was the Saturday morning practice.
Once again, talking with Brian Munson of Husker Online here. Let's start with the offensive guys that were in town. You mentioned a couple of those wide receivers in Gatlin Bear and Ryan Wingo, and then a lot of linemen in town as well in Gibson Pyle, Samisi Tonga in there as well, Nuku Mafi. Again, all these guys had great things to say about Nebraska from what I can read from your write-ups. Of that group of guys, who do you think is the most important target for Nebraska?
You can't overlook Brandon Baker being the number 1 offensive tackle in the nation, but that's a guy that's he's gonna sort things out all the way into December. He is not gonna make a June, July decision. He's gonna take, 2 official visits in June. He's gonna take 2 in the season and a 5th, the 5th one will probably be sometime after that season. So you're looking at maybe, like that week after Thanksgiving or something like that, to where he finally ends up making it. So he's the big prize. He's the kind of guy that Nebraska goes out and tries to fill up, an offensive tackle and interior offensive line, and if Baker wants in, they create a spot for him. But I mean, I'm going to actually talk to Andrew Sprague's coach right as soon as we hang up here. I'm going to call Coach Donahoe. But Grant Bricks came in and had a fabulous situation, a fabulous weekend. I think the thing to kind of remember with a guy like him is that, Logan, Iowa is just right across the river over there by Mo Valley. And it's incredibly close for him. And I think that's really kind of a huge thing for Nebraska. Like that's something that basically they've got to treat him like an in-state guy. And then you got the two guys in from Utah. I mean, we didn't know about Nuku Mafi, and we really didn't, know too much about Samisi Tonga. And both those guys left for Miami last night, and they were blown away. I mean, first of all, their high school offensive line coach is Tennille Finoti. So they have gotten schooled up about like how to practice at the high school level, how to get ready for college. And oh yeah, here's about Nebraska, because one of the best to ever do it at Nebraska, Tennille Finoti, is your high school offensive line coach. So really, I tell you what, Gage Ginther, glossed over him. We talked about Pyle. I got a story coming on Ginther tonight. You had also Riley Sunrum coming in, and I got a story coming on him too. But that's this weekend really brought in tremendous numbers at the offensive line spots, which I think is going to be really music to the ears of a lot of people when you start considering you only have 10 offensive linemen available for spring practices. You'll get 4 more in June, but obviously that is a position Nebraska is going to take quite a few at when it comes to the 2024 class.
On the defensive side of the ball, Roger Gradney says Nebraska sees him, in the defensive backfield playing on special teams as well. He's the first commit in this next class for the Huskers, and that's a big one. He has his name there as the first guy down. How big of a role did he play in this weekend? How did his visit go? His first time in Lincoln. What's the kind of the book with him this weekend?
Yeah, he's such a great guy. I mean, coming off of a hip surgery, he's having to take it slow, and they've really impressed upon him that his bread's buttered, on the football field. He could go out there and do great in track, but you could really hurt himself and put himself in a bad position. So he's being patient and he's going through the process. Nebraska really does like him as a secondary. They really feel like he is a creator as a special teams guy, and so does his coach. But other guys on defense to kind of keep a close eye on: Jacob Smith and Gerard Smith from Cheshire, Connecticut. Both those guys are looking at spring game visits. I talked to Mario Buford really briefly last night because he was getting in like from the airport like at 10 o'clock. And there was the Keith Williams tweet that kind of had everybody on edge about maybe being a commitment. And that was like one guy I didn't get a hold of, and things look obviously very positive with him, but he had a great visit. We're going to catch up again tonight. Michael Boganowski is a guy that really kind of gets lost in all of the noise and the stars of the weekend. He's the top 3-star guy that came in, great outside linebacker from Junction City, Kansas. Had a great weekend again. Probably going to be one of those things where I think Nebraska gets him back. And then Thomas Heiberger, I've got his update to come along with Elijah Newby. Those guys are, again, kind of those jack linebackers that sit that hybrid spot between the outside linebacker 2-point to a guy that can walk up, be on the line of scrimmage, 2-point, or even hand in the dirt. Those are some really interesting cats because like that athleticism, that skill set, that's a really broad skill set. You're kind of sitting there, JoJo Doman, kind of thing where you got to be able to match up and take into an equation like, motion and how they're going to kind of account for you. And things change very quickly. So those guys are great athletes, and those you could never have enough of those guys with that versatility. And they both had great weekends in Lincoln this weekend.
There you have it. Brian Munson recapping everything Nebraska Junior Day over the weekend. Brian, hope that nurse gets back quickly with some little more coffee, some anti-inflammatory, some wrist braces, whatever you need. We appreciate your time. Thanks for the great breakdown, and we'll see what we have for you next week.
I'm going to get a fresh ice pack, and we're going to be back on some stories here quick.
There you go. Once again, Brian Munson of Husker Online joining us here on the block. We'll step aside. On the other side, we've got the crossover. We'll wrap up on the block with that after this.
Experience the Landmark difference with the next level of dealer support. Landmark, your local John Deere dealer, continually works to have parts on hand the first time you walk in the door. Our internal route system means we can get the parts to you typically same or next day to keep you up and running. At Landmark, we understand time is money. Get more uptime with our after-hours parts and service support on the phone or in the field. Our sales, precision ag, parts, and service teams are ready to serve you this planning season. Stop by your local Landmark today to experience the Landmark difference.
March is a month of good luck. From epic runs in state basketball to watching Cinderella spring the upset in college basketball. And of course, St. Patrick's Day. Luck is on your side at Mullen Motors too, because their lot is full of great vehicles to take home. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Your luck starts this month at Mullen Motors.
No tagline, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
This is Jay Foreman. When I played football for Nebraska and in the NFL, I wore protective gear to safeguard my health. Today, I'm not only protecting my health, but everyone in our community by staying up to date with the bivalent COVID vaccine. Update your protection with the bivalent COVID vaccine while it's still free. Find out more at healthylincoln.org. That's healthylincoln.org.
Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in Westo and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on Westo Street at Price Right Auto.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
We'll see increasing cloud cover by later this afternoon. Should top out with a high near 45. Winds out of the north-northeast at around 10. Partly cloudy tonight with a low down to around 24. Mostly sunny tomorrow and warmer. We'll see a southwest wind at 15 with a high of around 52. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum. Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $10 off any athletic shoes $105 and under, and get $15 off any shoe over $105. Choose from respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, On, and 361 Running. And don't forget a new shipment just arrived for the season. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 60Q in Lincoln.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
back one last time here on the block. I'm Boss Norman. Joined now, Jay Foreman, Kenny Wilhide in the building. Gentlemen, happy Monday. How we doing?
Everything's all good. Salutations.
All good. I just came from a workout. My man got that fresh beard lined up. Look at it. Look
Come
at
on,
it.
Blair. Chill out with all that.
He looking
I
good
almost
over
was
there.
late. I had to run back and get my hat, man. You know what I'm saying? You can't walk into the barbershop with a hat. So, yeah, he cleaned me up.
Hold on, you just left the barbershop?
Yeah.
Got a haircut? And
I
put
had
a
to
hat
wear-
on?
Yeah.
Why?
Was it that bad?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. He takes care of me.
So you ain't supposed to wear no hat on a
I
fresh
always wear a
haircut.
hat, man.
You crazy.
That
Always
is your
wear it.
thing. I don't know if I've ever seen you without a hat for more than about 30 seconds.
Nope. Yeah.
I respect it. So I wanted to ask you guys, first time you get to Nebraska, what was it like for you? Big recruiting weekend, a lot of guys seeing Lincoln on an unofficial visit for the first time. Your first impressions of Lincoln?
When I came, it was cold.
Same with
I
me.
came, man. I think I had a basketball game on Friday at night, I think, or Thursday. And it was back then a big recruiting weekend because they had me, Jason Wiltz. They end up getting a whole bunch of guys out of that weekend. Now, mind you, we didn't ever take unofficial visits or anything like that. So it was me, Grant Wistrom, Jason Wiltz, Mike Rucker, Trey Creighton, and some other guys in our class. So it was, I'm assuming, a big weekend because a lot of us came, plus some of the local guys that were end up coming. It was cold. It was cold. I remember getting off that plane. I was like, damn.
Were you from Minnesota?
But that hawk, bro, when you got off the plane, because you got to think, you go from inside, the plane was all warm, and then you get off, and then back then the Lincoln Airport was so small that you
Walked
parked
out.
and then you walked.
You walked.
in
Really?
there.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like
Oh, yeah.
and plus they were, at least where I came from, Minneapolis, it was a small plane. So
too.
it wasn't like a big one that say would come from Denver or Chicago or something like that. So you had to walk. So you get off of there and it was like, a big deal. And I was definitely overdressed, but it was nice. I mean, it was cool. It showed me a good time. And I was pleasantly surprised because, I did take one unofficial visit, which was to Miami. Obviously that's family stuff. I mean, my dad and uncles went there. And so it's completely obviously different. And so I had no idea about what was in Lincoln or what it was like. But once I got here, I was completely blown away.
Well, for me, I'm from St. Louis and I went to Dodge City. So that was an eye opener, complete eye opener.
Right.
So I knew it wasn't any worse than Dodge City. So I was able to get a private private plane. I had my own.
Okay.
I had my own
He had
plane.
a boost already.
Yeah.
Statute of limitations. How much money you get,
No,
man?
I didn't get no money. No money. But yeah, I had a private plane and landed in Lincoln, and I was like, okay, this is a lot better than Dodge City. That's for sure. Bigger
Right.
plane and
Sure.
bigger plane.
Bigger plane
by
yeah,
myself.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good visit. I was here with a lot of good guys too. I mean, you had Calvin Jones, Corey Dixon,
Yeah.
and all those guys. So
It was closing weekend. So we
Yes.
were lucky enough to come on closing weekend,
Yes.
which I think was good. I think if I would have came, coming from Minneapolis and it would have been a slow weekend, I don't think I would have came.
So what is the value of having other dudes there with you? Because the big thing this weekend, Dylan Raiola's there and he's bringing a lot of guys with him. Just how important is it for athletes being recruited to see other, capital D dudes there with them?
here's the thing with that. If all three of us are dudes, we're on the same campus. They already said those dudes have been to Georgia. They've been to, so whatever's best fit for me may not be the best fit for you
individually,
two.
yeah.
Right.
So you can say that all you want. Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to recruit you two, but this may not be a good fit for one of you guys.
And that's
So
ultimately what you have to do.
that's ultimately what you have to do. Now, do I want to? I'm a quarterback. You're a receiver. You're a running back. Do I think all three of us can play here? Yes, but again, for you, it may not
I
be.
ain't
a
making
fit.
a decision based on y'all.
So you say that, and I went on a visit, and one of the guys that I was on a visit here with, I was on a visit at another place with, and some stuff was being, and he said, "I'm coming here." Man, I turned on the news on Monday. That man he committed somewhere else. So
yeah. And then
I can say I'm committing here, and you can say you commit here, but on Monday your mind gonna change when you get home. So
yeah, because things do change. What's funny is Jonathan Brown, who was a defensive end, was on the visit here. He ended up going to Tennessee. So I knew Jonathan because we played against each other for 2 years in a row in nationals at AAU, and another player on his team was Marcus Nash. So he ended up going to Tennessee. But when we got here, I actually connected with him just through basketball, from playing against each other in basketball, and talked to him all weekend, and not, Grant Wisham, guys that end up, playing 4 or 5 years with him. So we exchanged numbers. Now that was, you had to pick up the phone and call it in, right?
What?
But
No.
you got to think, leaving, he was like, yeah, I think I could come here. And he was like, and he was one of the top. I mean, it was obviously probably him, Grant, and Ruck. They were obviously highly ranked. And we ended up taking 3 defensive ends anyways. And, then he was all set to come and not all set, but it was far enough along that Coach Brown and Coach Osborne was asking me about my relationship with him and Coach Young as well. And I talked to him a few times, but I do remember he called me up on like a Monday or Tuesday, and he was like, has Tennessee called you, or what do you think about Tennessee? And I was like, nah, they ain't never hit me up. And it was too late in the process, and they had called like 1 or 2 times. And I was like, nah, I ain't gonna hit. And then he ended up going to Tennessee, playing really well, ended up playing in the NFL for a long time. So he made a good decision for him. I made it for myself, but that can change drastically. I mean, it's no different than, I went to Iowa on a visit, and it was just me and Tim Dwight. Now, Tim Dwight was already going. And I was close to going until they got it. We got in this little academic meeting. Now I was like, bro, you ain't going to get me down here going to summer school, period. And it ain't happening. I hate school, and you ain't about to have me take no classes for no college credits. Now, I think they wanted to get me down there and get me in, up to snuff. They didn't tell me that. So that's on them. And me and Tim was, cool. We, it's cool to connect when you get to the league. But, a lot of these guys, I think, it's cool while you're here in the moment. Get home and things definitely change.
Yeah.
Let's pause 10 seconds. Fred, do you have one more question before we get you to old school?
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
All right, for both of you, there's one guy on your visit weekends that you could have gotten to come to Nebraska that didn't. Who would it be?
Ooh.
Not that you needed anything,
really.
But
well, for me, I was a junior college guy, so most of the guys that they had on my visit were all high school guys. So we really didn't. I was kind of to myself. I mean, I hung out with the guys, but my decision was going to be made on what I felt comfortable for me.
Sure.
It wasn't going to be predicated on anybody else. So
these little 18-year-olds don't know what they're doing.
Well, I wouldn't say they didn't know what they're doing. I just knew.
Yeah, he's farther along.
I'm farther along.
His mindset's totally different.
My mindset was totally different. I mean, a lot of those guys were here just to party and because they had uncles or cousins or people that have played here before them and friends that were on the team already. So I don't think there was anybody in our group that I wanted to come that didn't come.
Yeah.
I mean, because I didn't know them. If we had social media like they have now, you'd know them better. It'd be different. But I just wanted a place for me.
I know 2 names that Nebraska dropped the ball on. One was Marshall Faulk.
Yep.
And we're going to just blame that on Coach D. And number 2 was Jamal Lewis, the running back that went to Tennessee. And I blame that on Coach Bowl because I remember Jamal Lewis. First of all, another linebacker was his host on the visit. I won't say his name because I'm not going to give him enough respect because he's in some trouble right now, and I don't necessarily agree with it. But he was on his visit, and I connected with Jamal, and I was a little bit older, and I was just talking to him, and they had told me about him as a running back, and when he walked in the locker room at I think Jamal was 6 foot 6'1". And he was, how they say you 225 or something coming, and you see him when they come on campus, they 205, 200. Nah, he for real,
legit,
like legit. You could, he had shoulders, everything, and he would have done. I mean, he get in our weight program, he would have obviously done well because he really liked it. But I remember talking to Coach Solitz about him as a running back, and then everything kind of went well, and I just, you check in on him. You know what I mean? Hey man, how your visit going? This and this. And they say, yeah, they trying to get me to come in and play well linebacker. I said, Coach Ball, what? I said, do you see this dude? Yeah. I said, he look better than anybody we got. You talk about, all them dudes, Juggernaut and all them cats. Like, you see this dude right here? We playing him the next year. He's starting as a freshman at Tennessee. That's one guy that I wish they would have got at Nebraska, just within, my time frame. Obviously I was a little bit older, but on my visit, once you got with your host, it's different now. I don't think they had the recruiting departments weren't big. I think Dave Gillespie,
he was the only
guy. He'd talk to you, then you go talk to the coaches, and if you were a so-called athlete, you kind of were just lost in translation because you were talking to Coach Brown, Coach D, Coach Steele, Coach Sam. You going in, next thing you know, you don't want to talk to no coaches. You just want to try to go hang out with some younger guys and see who's at the hotel or whatever to kind of, chop it up a little bit. So, I think it's the way they recruit now is totally different.
I do have to ask about Marshall Faulk.
Who?
Marshall Faulk. How did that fall through?
Well, first of all, don't blame it all on Nebraska. San Diego State was the only one that he came from New Orleans and everybody else was looking at him as a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then he goes to San Diego State because they're the only one that looked at him as a running back. And I remember watching Marshall Faulk late because they had them sweet uniforms, all black socks, black shoes, and he was just murking out on cats. So that's why I think that's probably, just imagine him.
But like he already said, blame that on Coach somewhat. But
you can't blame Coach D because you see them feet. That's a DB. Now,
but we said last week, you're a running back. We want you here in Nebraska as a running back. You tell them that till you get them on your campus.
Yeah, but that would have been the big. He's one of the best of all time. Like I don't know what tape you was watching. Just like with Jamal Lewis, what tape you watching? You don't need to be playing no will linebacker, especially playing for you, Coach Bowl, at that time.
He said, "Young man, have you seen our running back board? Have you seen our running back room? You can't play running back here." That man said, "Take me back to my hotel."
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's just. I mean, look, man. There's all types of pieces, man. I mean, I will say this. Give the staff, kudos to the recruiting, whatever the recruiting department or whatever, not whatever the whole football department. Kudos getting guys here. It's not an exact science. There could be guys that they signed that you think is a foregone conclusion that's supposed to be good. Get here, can't play dead. You get guys that come in under the radar, and next thing you know, he's the best dude in the class and the only one that can last. And so what your star ranking is and what your class ranking is generally will come to fruition 2 or 3 years down the road. But it's good for Nebraska to have that much ability to get guys to come here, whether I don't know if they're unofficial or official visits. But I will tell you this, I keep saying this, it's not just because Kenny is right here. I'm always going to give credit to the staff that took over in the middle of the season on the fly. They've created a culture and made Nebraska. First of all, they started a culture that would make it easier for any coach, Matt Rule or anybody, to take over, to come in and weed through the nonsense because it was set forth in beforehand, or at least the starting part was. Along with that, building relationships with some of these local players, which are the guys within the 500-mile radius, but really in particularly from Omaha to Scotts Bluff. They rekindled those relationships, especially with ones obviously with whether I'll be more than happy to say that making those guys rekindled the relationship with the Rayolas. I will tell you that. It's just common knowledge. So it's not. I'm not.
Not a state secret anymore.
Yeah, it's not a secret. So, but then when you hand it off to a new coach, that that's here, that's willing to also put himself out there to still honestly recruit him. That's how you're able to get here and take a visit. And actually, you see by his body language, it's totally. If you know how they have those body language experts, you see the body language when early, a year or so ago. And I can tell you when it changed. It changed. It was one way after that Northwestern game. I know for a fact. And then when he came that next time, and when they walked through the weight room, and people looked at him like he was sideways, and his dad and his mom and his parents walked through there, he looked like they were sideways. It significantly changed and went downhill like it was just going over this cliff here, and it's been rekindled. So you got to give the staff prior and this staff to taking it to the next level as well. So good things, man.
There you go. What's coming up on Old School, gents?
Well, obviously Sweet 16. Obviously we don't know what the heck we're talking about the dang Alabama Slammer.
Oh my God.
We're gonna obviously get into that right away. And then we're gonna jump into the spring ball. I think that a lot of it's fine to drink the Kool-Aid, but obviously you got to make sure you don't put too much sugar in there. And then we're gonna talk a little NBA playoffs, and then finish it up with the Final Four picks or potential Final Four picks into championship game.
There you go. That's Old School. Jay and Kenny coming up right here on 93.7 The Ticket after this. Catch it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Big thanks to Mary Ellen's for sponsoring On the Block. That's it for me. Strick should be back tomorrow if he's not too busy being entertained at C's. We'll just have to see. Anyways, that'll do it for On the Block. Old School. Kenny and Jay comes your way after this.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? They're charging way too